Imagine. Imagine if, by understanding your own definitions of trauma, that we could empower you to move forward and become all that you wanted to become in your life. Removing pain, removing illness, removing injury, removing disease, making you faster, stronger, healthier, more whole. Hi, welcome. I'm Carol Serby, and I'm the owner of the Omineca Healing Institute, where we release trauma and disease triggered by repressed emotions. Thank you so much for joining me in another episode online where we are learning to follow your map. We're learning to figure out how your body is speaking to you. So today I wanted to take a few minutes and wanted to redefine trauma for you. What I've grown to learn is that we all suffer from it. And trauma in its finite definition, whenever we talk about trauma, we always think about, the guys that come back from the war and they got PTSD. Anybody that's been involved in a shooting or, a gang rape or these huge life-altering events. And absolutely, those are very traumatic. They can change a person's personality intensely and immensely. And I by no means mean to diminish those really seriously impactful events on people's lives. But I want to broaden the definition of trauma and just bring to light how rampant this really is. And I want you to know that you, me, people in my family have all suffered trauma at some point in time. Now, what I mean by that is that you have had an experience, and with each person being a different person, a different type of personality, with different likes, different dislikes, different food tolerances, we're all different. And every person will experience trauma differently. And in any one given situation, say you have 5 people in an apartment fire. Let's take that as an example. 5 people in an apartment fire. 2 might experience trauma. 3 might not. So trauma really is very individual. It's very relative to who you are and how you're raised and what your filters are and what your fears are as to how these life experiences change you. Absolutely change you. So, when we get stuck in trauma, so what happens is we're facing a traumatic event, okay? And at the 0 point of trauma, so if you're counting down, at the 0 point, when the trauma actually happens, we actually go trauma -1, and whatever's happening 1 moment, 1 second, 1 step, 1 iota before the traumatic event, we actually take our experience, our emotions, our thoughts, our ideas, and we lock it away. I like to look at it as a Tupperware container, or a little Rubbermaid container, one that fit a sandwich. That's my vision of them anyways, and it just gets stuffed in there, and you get the lid popped on and go, and it's locked in there for good. And it now becomes one of your filters. So every time you go to do something, you're going to run it through that filter, that trauma. If I do this, am I going to be safe? And the problem with trauma is when whatever the trauma is, the apartment fire, whatever, when the trauma is over, you have this emotionality. I don't know, is that a word? Your emotions, your personality, everything locked into this container, and you've left it behind. So what's going on inside that container doesn't realize that you, the physical person, has actually survived the trauma and are now cleared it and on the other side. So it's actually a really, really interesting way that we activate self-preservation. You know, it's our way of protecting ourselves. So what we can actually do is, through hypnotherapy, is we can actually go back, open those trauma containers, learn the lessons you needed to learn, understand, have that emotionality. I like that. I think that's a new word. Have that emotionality, realize that the physical body actually did survive, and we can bring that emotionality forward into the present moment, removing the need to put us through those filters. Okay, so depending on what the trauma was, and it could be something really, really, really benign. An example I like to use, there was a gentleman that had a hard time with money. He had a hard time. He couldn't make it. He couldn't keep it. Had a hard time with money. So when he finally went to do some work around hard time with money, in regression therapy, what they actually found is he remembers, and I can't remember whether he was a small boy or whether he was still in utero, but he remembers hearing in an argument, and the argument was about money. And arguments could be made that he had a traumatic moment, he locked the emotions away, and now as an adult, anytime he makes money, he goes, oh, but money causes arguments. Money isn't safe. I have to get rid of my money, right? But in the regression therapy, what he realized is that his mother was actually watching a TV program where the husband and wife in the TV program were arguing about the money. So what creates the trauma in us, quite literally, can be false. It can be a non-existent, a non-happening. So without clearing it, though, that has a huge, huge impact on this gentleman's ability to keep money. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys all knew that we've all experienced trauma. It's where a lot of our filters come from. It molds us into behaving the way we behave. You ever had that experience where you go, I know I should do that, but I keep doing that, and I keep doing that, and I keep doing that, and but I should do that. I keep doing that. And it's frustrating. And it's frustrating. And what's happening here is 93% of our thoughts and our actions are unconscious. 93% of what we do is unconscious. So that's an awfully big influence on your personality. And because the unconscious stuff is actually the emotional aspect, the emotional aspect will override the mental aspect every single time. Every single time. The emotions that are locked away will override that, but that would be really good for me and I should go do that. So know that without clearing those emotions, that you're going to have a really hard time. You're really going to have a hard time. Now, what can we do to clear those emotions? Okay, so this is where we start to get into some of the really cool therapy works. And there's a lot of them out there. And whoever you pick whatever you choose to do, there's going to be very few of them that are medical doctors. So if you are on any kind of medication whatsoever, do not change your medication without your doctor's permission. Now, what you're probably going to find is when you start to do some of this clearing work, you start to unlock some of these traumas that are held in the body, held in the emotions. You're probably going to find that your prescriptions need to change. That is a decision that should be made by your doctor and yourself and not anybody else, okay? So one of the really great places to start is Reiki. So I would ask that you find a Reiki practitioner and just start to experience some of the more etherical sensations. Now, the reason I recommend Reiki first is there's a lot going on in us that we don't pay any attention to. So Reiki is a really good opportunity. It's really easy. It's got a great price point. It's very relaxing. It now gives us the opportunity to start to feel some things again. Okay, so I would start with Reiki first. If you want specific steps after that, there's lots. You could go to a rebirthing coach, you could do healing touch, you could do I'm gonna of course recommend hypnotherapy and timeline therapy because I have the energy component as well. I am a matrix energy healer. But along with that, so I know the points on the body to start to get you to visualize right away. I can see the aura, so if something's happening in your energetic system, I can see it and I can respond to it right away. And then I also have the capacity to get down into the unconscious mind. But if you're not comfortable with that, you need to start to learn to feel what's going on in your body first. Start to learn to feel your heartbeat. Start to learn to feel what a breath feels like. Actually taking a breath in through the nose, feeling the cool air going through your sinuses, down your throat and into your chest, feeling your lungs expand, and then feeling the warm air coming back out. Once you start down that road of actually the feeling process, it starts to make opening up to whatever your blockages are, whatever your traumas are, it starts to make it much easier to deal with, and you're much more consciously aware of what's going on in your body. So, and then the one thing about hypnotherapy, I'm just going to give myself a little plug here, is that we don't actually have to go back down into the trauma. Once you have that feeling sensation and you start to get it, we actually just work through what feelings are coming up. And it's not a talk therapy. It's let's get this out of your way. Let's move it in your proprioceptive nervous system. Let's put it behind you. Let's change what it looks like. Change the parts of the trauma that you remember. That's really cool. We actually we can manipulate the memories to make them much more positive and much more healthy for you. So anyways, enough about that. Enough about trauma. I think you guys get it. We all have our own trauma, and it's a really good catch-all name for what's holding you back. There's emotions locked there that are holding you in a spot where you need to just bust through and break through. So if you have any more questions about trauma, by all means, I'll follow this feed. You can post some questions below, and by all means, I'll be more than happy to answer it. So if you're looking for more energy healing techniques, inspiration, or understanding how your body is speaking to you, I suggest that you go and sign up for a monthly digest at ominecahealing.ca. Excuse me. If you would like the opportunity to work with us, I invite you again to go to ominecahealing.ca and sign up for a free 30-minute clarity call. And all that is we're just going to have a conversation around what's going on for you. And If there's a tip or a technique that I can do for you, absolutely we'll do that. I'll answer all the questions that you have, and I'll send you to any free resources that I'm aware of. And if I feel as though that we're a good fit and I can actually help you, I'll present an offer for us to work together. And just so you know too, I also do monthly workshops and lectures, so all of the information for those are available on my website or on my Facebook page, Omineca Healing. It's our purpose to support you in your courage and exploring the clarity and listening intuitively to the mastery already inside your body so that you can live full throttle and give others permission to do the same. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next week. Okay, bye-bye.